Son of Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest Vivian. So why Toastmasters? Why am I here today? More importantly, why are you here today? And why would a guest be crazy enough to join this organization? No, but you think about it, the effort to come here, you have to get dressed up, battle through traffic, and some more dressed up than others, I guess. Battle through traffic, though, and then give up your Friday lunch period week after week. So why would you do that? Why Toastmasters? So in this icebreaker today, I'll briefly describe why, 3 reasons to join Toastmasters. First is respect, the second is honor, and the third is fun. I'll introduce myself along the way, but more importantly, hopefully for our experienced orators, I'll rekindle the fire and the passion you have for Toastmasters. So the first reason that I would want to join Toastmasters is to improve communication skills. That sounds pretty simple, but communication skills directly relates to respect, credibility, a puissant image, if you will. So I'm an Army infantry officer, and I have 7 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan over the course of 10 years. And I can tell you from that experience, that combat experience talking with Pat, that words matter. So when you're talking to your commander and you describe your plan for the mission, how you describe it can mean yes or no for the approval. More importantly, if you ask for a resource, a certain asset, attack helicopters, as Pat was saying, if you do not describe it correctly, you don't use the right words, eloquent, logical, then you'll get denied that. And then it comes down to life or death for your men. So how you describe the mission to your men, for me, it's my soldiers, my rangers, they're barrel-chested freedom fighters. So they're the real deal. They've got sleeve tattoos, they always have a dip in, yet they always open doors for women. It's a strange combination. But these warriors look directly at you, and many of them have more combat experience, 13, 14, 15 deployments. And the plan that I give to them, they have to know we'll complete the mission, and we'll get the target to kill or capture that we're going after, and then more importantly, we're going to bring all of them back. So the exfil plan is usually pretty important. And so Toastmasters, for this first point, is the best venue that I've seen to give you the repetitions and then also the support to succeed. The second reason is I want to take care of those subordinates off the battlefield. And so I get the opportunity and the privilege to speak at every kind of major transition point for these subordinates. So these my soldiers, my NCOs, and my junior officers have carried me on their shoulders for my whole career. So anything that I've achieved, the reason that I'm here at NPS and not in Leavenworth is because of the performance that they have done to get me here. So when these guys get promoted or they get farewell from the organization, the commander, the leader, is the one that stands up there and speaks on them. So, for example, Sergeant First Class Ryan Anderson. He's the real deal. He's been served in Bravo Company for 13 years, and in those 13 years, he had 12 combat deployments at the tip of the spear. Believe that? So with Ryan and with his family, and in front of 150 men that he's fought with, my words are the summation of his blood, sweat, and tears that he's given to his country and to the unit. So take it very, very seriously. And so say Toastmasters gives you the ability to polish your public speaking so you can rise to the occasion when you need to, when your words equal honor for service. And the third point, and this is kind of more personal, but it's to enjoy life. And so Dale Carnegie said, people rarely succeed unless they're having fun. And then Marjorie said, today we're all here to have fun. So I'm still working that logic, critical thinking, but I think 1 and 1 equal 2. All right. So joining Toastmasters gives you the ability to lose your inhibitions. A lot of people walk around with, I call them like shackles of self-doubt. So you can think of the ghost of Jacob Marley during Christmas Carol, dragging the chains. And that's sort of what self-doubt does to you throughout your life. And so I think coming here to Toastmasters gives you the ability not just when you're doing public speaking, but when you're answering questions in class. I have class in this actual room, so I sit right there. So, but when you're answering questions, when you're doing critical speaking with professors, etc., Toastmasters gives you those repetitions that you can present your best foot forward, and then you can also not limit what you can do in this life. So for these reasons, respect, honor, and fun, I think Toastmaster is well worth battling, traffic to get here. And it's well worth the time year in, year out. Thank you, Councilor Foster.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It's always a pleasure to hear an icebreaker speech, and Patty, I enjoyed thoroughly your passant performance. The purpose of an icebreaker speech is to begin speaking before an audience, which you certainly did. And the second objective is to discover speaking skills that you already have that may need some attention to polish further. I like the way you began by asking several questions, one of yourself, one of the group. You got us all drawn into what you were about to say by doing that. Excellent beginning. And overall, your organization showed the skill and the level of competence that we often don't see until speeches 3 or 4 or 5, where you are taught to organize your speech, begin with the body, begin with the beginning, a body, and a strong conclusion. You had all of those elements already, including within your body having 3 major points. Extremely well done. Respect, honor, and fun. And then you even broke those down into, in the case of respect, excellent storytelling, good body language, and you showed great humor in doing that. I like the way you got away from the lectern and talked to the person over here that you were referring to, rather than just saying you were doing that. You actually demonstrated that. You could have made that even bigger, but that's for a future talk. I liked your use of the language where you talked about shackles of doubt. Very nice. And the Jacob Marley story, which most of us are familiar with, which fit right into the shackles of doubt. A couple of suggestions. You might have had a title as well, as Pat had suggested for the previous speaker. It gets us prepared and it gets it onto the agenda. It's part of what we do here, so please think about that in the future. You still use filler words like we all do when we begin, and we can do even after we've been here if we get sloppy. So you said a couple of times, these guys, a couple of things like that, that as you speak more, I'm sure you will extirpate them from your came out of my mouth. Wow. And instead of these pausing words and filler words, you just pause more. You would have had an even more impactful speech, as you will learn to do, if you pause more between the 3 points. And that lets the audience really assimilate what you've just said and gets us ready for your next point. So those are the suggestions for improvement. Loved your manner in front of us. I can imagine you talking to the groups that you're going to be speaking to, and I look forward to speech number 2.